Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sherilyn Furman, and I'm here to report the Howard Gardner's multiple intelligence theory. At the end of this lesson, the students are expected to state their understanding about the Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence, explain the eight criteria for identifying an intelligence, and describe the difference between the eight multiple intelligence. When we hear the word intelligence, we often think of it as a general intelligence that pertains to cognitive abilities of a person. We often associate intelligence as an intellectual potential that can be measured by testing our IQs. At school, we describe our smart classmates as intelligent persons, but we do not describe our classmates that are good in dancing, writing a poem, or composing a song as intelligent ones. This is because we thought intelligence pertains to cognitive abilities only. In recent years, many views about intelligence have arose, including the Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence. After years of research, Howard Gardner proposed a new theory and definition of intelligence in his 1983 book entitled Frames of Mind, The Theory of Multiple Intelligences. The basic question he sought to answer was: is intelligence a single thing or various independent intellectual faculties? Gardner is a professor of cognition and education at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. He also holds an adjunct faculty post in psychology at Harvard and in neurology at Boston University School of Medicine. He is best known for his work in the area of multiple intelligences, which has been a career-long pursuit to understand and describe the construct of intelligence. Gardner describes his work with two distinct populations as the inspiration for his theory of multiple intelligences. Early in his career, he began studying stroke victims suffering from aphasia at the Boston University Aphasia Research Center and working with children at Harvard's Project Zero, a laboratory designed to study the cognitive development of children and its associated educational implications. In Intelligence Reframed, Gardner states that both of the populations I was working with were cluing me into the same message: that the human mind is better thought of a series of relatively separate faculties with only loose and non predictable relations with one another than as a single, all purpose machine that performs steadily at a certain horsepower independent of content and context. Gardner concluded from his work with these two populations that strength in one area of performance did not reliably predict comparable strength in another area. With this intuitive conclusion in mind, Gardner set about studying intelligence in a systematic, multidisciplinary, and scientific manner, drawing from psychology, biology, neurology, sociology, anthropology, and the arts and humanities. This resulted in the emergence of his theory of multiple intelligences as presented in Frames of Mind on 1983. Since the publication of that work, Gardner and others have continued to research the theory and its implications for education in general, curriculum development, teaching, and assessment. For the purposes of this hot topic, the focus will be on description of the theory, major criticisms, and the implications for assessment. According to Gardner, intelligence is much more than IQ because a high IQ in the absence of productivity does not equate to intelligence. In his definition, intelligence is a biopsychological potential to process information that can be activated in a cultural setting to solve problems or create products that are valued in a culture. Consequently, instead of intelligence being a single entity described psychometrically with an IQ score, Gardner's definition views it as a many things. He endeavored to define intelligence in a much broader way than psychometricians. To achieve this goal, Gardner established several criteria for defining intelligence. In identifying capabilities to be considered for one of the multiple intelligences, the construct under consideration had to meet several criteria rather than testing on the results of a narrow psychometric approach. To qualify as intelligence, The particular capacity under study was considered from multiple perspectives, consisting of eight specific criteria drawn from the biological sciences, logical analysis and developmental psychology, experimental psychology, and psychometrics. The criteria consider candidate intelligences are the following. The first one is isolation as a brain function. The potential for brain isolation by brain damage means that one candidate intelligence can be dissociated from others. This criterion came from Gardner's work in neuropsychology. For example, stroke patients who are left with some forms of intelligences intact despite being damaged to other cognitive abilities such as speech. The second one is the prodigies, savants, and exceptional individuals. This is a criteria borrowed from the discipline of developmental psychology. It is the existence of savants, prodigies, and exceptional people. Gardner refers to these as accidents of nature that allow researchers to observe the nature of a particular intelligence in great contrast to other average or impaired abilities. One example of this type of highlighted intelligence is the autistic person who excels at numerical calculations or musical performance. The third one is the set of core operations. From the perspective of logical analysis, an intelligence must have an identifiable core set of operations, acknowledging the fact that specific intelligences operate in the context of the environment. Gardner argues that it is crucial to specify the capacities that are central to the intelligences under consideration. For example, linguistic intelligences consist of core operations such as recognition and discrimination of phonemes, command of syntax, and acquisition of word meanings. In the area of musical intelligence, the core operations are pitch, rhythm, timbre, and harmony. The fourth criteria is the developmental history with an expert and performance. This is another criteria from developmental psychology. The first is the presence of developmental trajectory for the particular ability toward an expert end state. In other words, individuals do not necessarily exhibit their intelligence in its raw state. Rather, they prepare to use their intelligence by passing through a developmental process. Thus, people who want to be mathematicians or physicists spend years studying and honing their logical and mathematical abilities in a distinctive and socially relevant way. The fifth one is the evolutionary history. From an evolutionary perspective, the candidate intelligence has to have played a role in the development of our species and its ability to cope with the environment. In this case, Gardner uses inference to conclude that spatial abilities were critical to the survival of our species. Early hominids had to be able to navigate diverse terrains using spatial abilities. The pressure of the environment then resulted in selection for this ability. Both of these criteria emerge from the biological sciences. The sixth one is supported psychological task. Gardner draws his last two criteria from traditional psychology and psychometrics to determine if a candidate intelligence makes it onto the list of specific abilities he calls multiple intelligences. There must be support from experimental psychology that indicates the extent to which two operations are related or different. Observing subjects who are asked to carry out two activities simultaneously can help determine if those activities rely on the same mental capacities or different ones. For example, a person engaged in working a crossword puzzle is unlikely to be able to carry out a conversation effectively because both tasks demand the attention of linguistic intelligence, which creates inference or interference. Whereas the absence of this sort of competition allows a person to be able to walk and converse at the same time, suggesting that two different areas or different intelligences are engaged. The seventh one is supported psychometric tasks. Despite the fact that Gardner proposed his theory in contrast to psychometrics, he recognized the significance of recognizing psychometric data such as IQ testing. According to him, these can be used to identify and quantify true and unique intelligences. And the eighth and last one or criteria is the encoded into a symbol system. Another criteria related to logical analysis states that an intelligence must be susceptible to encoding in a symbol system. According to Gardner, symbol systems are developed versus occurring naturally, and their purpose is to accurately and systematically convey information that is culturally meaningful. Some examples of encoding include written and spoken language, mathematical systems, logical equations, maps, charts, and drawings. Now let us talk about the eight multiple intelligences. From the preceding eight criteria, Gardner proposed and defined eight intelligences and the additional and existential intelligence. The first one is linguistic intelligence. People who are strong in linguistic verbal intelligence are able to use words well, both when writing and speaking. These individuals are typically very good at writing stories, memorizing information, and reading. Their strengths are words, language, and writing. The second intelligence is the logical mathematical intelligence. People who are strong in logical mathematical intelligence are good at reasoning, recognizing patterns, and logically analyzing problems. These individuals tend to think conceptually about numbers, relationships, and patterns. Their strengths are analyzing problems and mathematical operations. The third one is the musical intelligence. People who have strong musical intelligence are good at thinking in patterns, rhythms, and sounds. They have a strong appreciation for music and are often good at musical composition and performance. Their strengths are rhythm and music. The fourth intelligence is the visual spatial intelligence. People who are strong in visual spatial intelligence are good at visualizing things. These individuals are often good with directions as well as maps, charts, videos, and pictures. Their strengths are visual and spatial judgment. The fifth one is the bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Those who have high bodily kinesthetic intelligence are said to be good at body movement, performing actions, and physical control. People who are strong in this area tend to have excellent hand and eye coordination and dexterity. Their strengths are physical movement, motor control. The sixth intelligence is the interpersonal intelligence. Those who have strong interpersonal intelligence are good at understanding and interacting with other people. These individuals are skilled at assessing the emotions, motivations, desires, and intentions of those around them. Their strengths are understanding and relating to other people. The seventh one is the intrapersonal intelligence. Individuals who are strong in interpersonal intelligence are good at being aware of their own emotional states, feelings, and motivations. They tend to enjoy self reflection and analysis, including daydreaming, exploring relationships with others, and assessing their personal strengths. Their strengths are introspection and self reflection. The eighth one is the naturalistic intelligence. Naturalistic is the most recent addition to Gardner's theory and has been met with more resistance than his original seven intelligences. According to Gardner, individuals who are high in this type of intelligence are more in tune with nature and are often interested in nurturing, exploring the environment, and learning about the other species. These individuals are said to be highly aware of even subtle changes to their environment. Their strengths are finding patterns and relationships to nature. The ninth and last one is the existential intelligence. Existential intelligence is the ninth type of intelligence suggested as an addition to Gardner's original theory. He described existential intelligence as an ability to dive into deeper questions about life and existence. People with this type of intelligence contemplate the big questions about topics such as the meaning of life and how actions can serve larger goals. Their strengths are ability to see the big picture. So these are the potential career choices of the nine intelligences. That's the end of my presentation. I hope you learned something from my report. Thank you for listening.